So on my picture perfect arrest video, 18 USC 795 to complete the title for accuracy's sake, Mr. Ethics Instead, Common Joe himself, has returned because we all were under the impression he was leaving. I guess he got that 10,000 a month that he was asking for. So good for you, Common Joe. Well, he had a question he wanted to ask me. He wasn't smart or educated enough to figure out he had a question to ask me. He thinks he's making a pithy point. Pithy point. Pop 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 filter. But he wasn't making a good point. He was asking me a question. The question was, "Hey Merbeast, I don't know how to figure out damages because I didn't go to law school or pass the bar. Can you please explain to me how to figure out how damages are calculated for 1983 lawsuits?" And you know what? I'd be happy to do that. And I won't even point out how blind you were to the irony of that last sentence. So this is Kerry v. Piffus. I'm not going to go over it too much. There was a couple young men who were suspended, two separate incidents. They both were denied due process for their suspensions. And the underlying factor was, do they get damages? They wanted mental and emotional distress damages, and the court said no. If you want those, you have to prove them. And you have to prove compensatory damages. You actually have to show that you lost wages, that you had out-of-pocket expenses, that you had medical bills, that you had therapist bills. You have to show, to get compensatory damages, you have to show what you lost. The point of this is to make you whole. Now, if you lose a limb from a 1983 lawsuit or something, or if, like, let's say, I don't know, let's say your spouse is lynched by a mob led by the sheriff, and you want to sue the sheriff for the loss of your spouse, and you want monetary damages, the court can figure out, like, generally the value of that person's life. And I know it's really cold to reduce that person's life down to a monetary worth, but just remember that you were suing for money over it, so they got to figure it out somehow. So yeah, compensatory damages have to be shown. You have to prove them. And if you don't have them, you're entitled to recover only nominal damage. Now, what's nominal damage? Here we go. If, upon remand, the district court determines the respondent's suspensions were justified, respondents nevertheless will be entitled to recover nominal damages not to exceed $1 from petitioners. A message has to be sent. Arr. Then there is Memphis Community School District v. Statura. I always want to mispronounce that. I always want to call it Statura or all sorts of things. Statura, but it's Statura. This is one where they determined that you couldn't just figure out the value of a constitutional right. You can prove compensatory damage. You can prove punitive damage, but you can't attach just a value to that right. So if you were, say, for instance, wanting to attach a value of 10 to 25,000, you can't do that. That's what the Supreme Court held in Memphis v. Statura, which you would have known if you were a lawyer. Finally, we have Smith v. Wade. It deals with punitive damages. Big deal on Smith v. Wade. He was a prisoner. He got his rights violated. I think he got, like, beaten and raped in his cell. So we hold that a jury may be permitted to assess punitive damages in an action under 1983 when the defendant's conduct is shown to be motivated by evil motive or intent, or when it involves reckless or callous indifference to the federally protected rights of others. Now, reckless has a legal meaning. You can't just say, well, they were reckless. It has a legal meaning. It's beyond negligence. It's where a reasonably prudent person would have known where the defendant should have known. Where a reasonably prudent person actually not necessarily would have known, but would have known they should have checked. So that's when you can get punitive damages. Now, what happens if there's no compensatory damages, but there are punitive damages? Well, you're limited. So you might get that $1 in nominal damages. Lucky for you, the Supreme Court has limited the punitive damages. It violates due process if you get awarded. In here, they do mention 10 times is 10 times won't violate the due process. You could argue at some point in time that's dicta. This is State Farm Mutual Automobile Insurance Company versus Campbell. So you could argue that 10 times is dicta, but it's every circuit court, every court of appeals has picked up that 10 times. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that you're probably going to be locked in at 10 times. Certainly you can't do 145 times, but you're probably locked in at 10 times. So I hope everybody found this educational. Common Joe, you're not a lawyer, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, and doggone it, you're not interesting enough. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.